So, looking through this massive stack of scouting reports and tactical breakdowns you sent us from match day 801 of the 2026 World Cup, one thing is just glaringly obvious.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Gravity feels a little, I don't know, glitchy right now in Groups I and J.
Glitchy. I like that.
Right, because when you study football history, there's a certain comfort in the concept of gravity. The traditional heavyweights, your Frances, your Argentinas, they are the gravitational pull. They just inevitably draw the trophy toward them.
Exactly. I mean, the script usually just writes itself. The giants advance, the underdogs put up a valiant fight, they get their polite round of applause, and then the natural order restores itself.
Yeah, but not this time.
No, not at all. The landscape mapped out in these sources you gave us paints a much more honestly volatile picture. Like, the giants are still standing, absolutely, but the ground is definitely shaking underneath them.
Right.
We just witnessed this absolute explosion of attacking football and dominant performances that completely shredded the, traditional, cautious group stage playbook.
It really did. So for today's deep dive, we are stripping match day 1 down to the studs to prepare you for the absolutely pivotal June 22 matchups. And looking through your materials, I'm analyzing this strictly through the tactical lens.
Oh, of course you are.
Hey, somebody has to. I want to dissect the formations, the midfield pressing triggers, the half-space overloads, and just the raw on-field execution of these squads.
Right, but I mean, football isn't played in a vacuum on a tactical whiteboard.
Right. True.
I'm looking at the broader narratives woven through your data, the emotional momentum shifts, and honestly, the crushing, suffocating psychological pressure these teams are suddenly facing. Because tactics only work if the 11 players executing them haven't, crumbled under the weight of the moment.
Well, let's test that theory right now, immediately. Structurally speaking, looking at the outcomes from Groups I and J, did match day 1 give you the sense that the traditional heavyweights are invincible? Or are the challengers out there actually smelling blood in the water?
The data tells this fascinating dual story, I think. The heavyweights showed up, but the challengers didn't just survive the opening bell, they thrived.
They really did.
They made massive statements. And that sets up an incredible collision course for match day 2, where sheer tactical dominance meets unfiltered momentum.
Okay, let's get right into those statements then. We have 4 big winners from match day 1 to analyze, starting with France's 3-1 victory over Senegal.
Such a huge game.
Huge.
Yeah.
And the scouting reports on France are, honestly, they're terrifying. Tactically, they operate like a ratchet. They didn't just hold possession. They systematically shrunk the playable area of the pitch.
Oh, for sure. Like a boa constrictor.
Exactly. Every time Senegal played a negative pass or took a heavy touch, France's entire defensive block stepped up 5 yards and just locked that space away.
Right.
They turned a very resilient Senegal side into passengers just by denying them the oxygen to progress the ball centrally.
But notice the psychological weight of that performance, though. I mean, France looked every bit like a championship contender right out of the gate.
Yeah, they really did.
And there's a specific aura a team carries when they know they're the apex predator, Like Senegal showed flashes of brilliance and real physical resilience.
They did. They had moments.
But France just absorbed it and dismissed it without even breaking a sweat. And that sends a shockwave through the rest of the tournament. It forces every other team to realize the standard hasn't dropped at all.
France definitely drains the oxygen. But what happens when a team decides to just blow the stadium roof off instead? Because over in that same group, Norway dropped a 4-1 hammer on Iraq.
That was wild.
Geeking out over Norway's attack for a second, they didn't just score goals, they engineered these geometrical nightmares for the Iraqi defense.
Right.
They continuously inverted their wingers, dragging Iraq's fullbacks into the central channels. And that created literally wide-open runways down the touchlines for Norway's overlapping fullbacks to exploit.
It was like a track meet.
Exactly. They forced Iraq to defend impossible angles, creating these 3v2 overloads on the flanks all afternoon.
And Norway is just, they are the absolute narrative of the week. They didn't just win. They announced themselves as a potential dark horse and a serious surprise story for the whole tournament.
Definitely.
Iraq fought desperately, but they were chasing shadows. And Norway played with this kind of joyful arrogance, a swagger you usually only see from the traditional powers who just expect to win.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That mental shift, from hoping for a result to expecting a blowout, it completely rewires a squad's DNA.
I hear that, but relying on scoring 4 goals a game is walking a tightrope. If you want to see a team that doesn't just attack but actually, kills the game, flip to the notes on Group J. Argentina takes down Algeria 3-0.
So clinical.
Tactically, this was the most complete, balanced performance of the round. It wasn't just about their composure in front of goal either. It was their rest defense.
Yeah, explain that for a second.
So even while committing numbers forward, Argentina's midfield pivot and center backs were constantly repositioning. They were choking off passing lanes so that the exact moment Algeria recovered the ball, the counterattack was dead on arrival.
Right, they couldn't even breathe.
Exactly. They dismantled Algeria's ability to play the game in transition, which is exactly why they secured that clean sheet.
And think about the narrative weight Argentina carries onto the pitch every single match. The expectations on them are enormous, borderline unreasonable, honestly.
Oh, totally. Any minor mistake is magnified globally.
Right, but instead of shrinking under that pressure or playing cautiously, they are entirely embracing the spotlight. They stepped onto the pitch and looked entirely unbothered by the stakes. They were systematically executing their game plan as if it were a closed-door training session.
Well, Argentina does it with a terrifying amount of individual talent. But flipping through the rest of this matchday 1 data, there's a team doing almost the exact same thing through pure, terrifying synchronization. Yes. Austria secured a 3-1 victory over Jordan. No flashy headlines, but their spatial control was impeccable.
Very under the radar.
Yeah, they operated in this incredibly compact mid-block. They maintained a perfect 15-yard distance between their defensive line and their midfield line.
Which is so hard to do.
It's exhausting. But any time a Jordan player tried to receive the ball in that pocket, 3 Austrian shirts collapsed on them instantly. Every single player knew their pressing triggers flawlessly.
And that's why Austria is quietly becoming one of the tournament's true surprise success stories.
Yeah.
They're flying under the radar, letting teams like France and Argentina absorb all the media heat while they meticulously position themselves for a serious run at qualification.
Yeah, it's smart.
Very. There is a specific danger to a team that feels no external pressure but possesses complete internal discipline.
Okay, so let's debate the core takeaway from these 4 performances. Looking at your sources, which team has shown the strongest tactical identity after matchday 1? I mean, I look at France, and their methodical restriction is just inevitable. You cannot beat a team if you literally cannot progress the ball past the center circle.
True.
But then I look at Norway, and their half-space exploitation is devastating. So who actually laid down the most sustainable tactical blueprint?
See, tactical identity only takes you so far if the belief isn't there.
Okay.
The real question is, who has the momentum and who made the absolute strongest first impression between France, Norway, Argentina, or Austria?
You really think momentum beats tactics?
Because tournament football runs on adrenaline and belief. Norway scoring 4 goals creates a tidal wave of confidence. That belief masks minor tactical deficiencies and makes players run that extra 10 yards they wouldn't normally run.
Yeah, but adrenaline has a half-life, right? I mean, is it a vertical, high-octane attacking system actually sustainable over a month-long tournament?
I think it can be.
But look at France's slow, methodical control, that ratchet effect. It conserves energy and dictates tempo. Running at 100 miles an hour and committing 7 players forward like Norway did against Iraq might win you 1 match, but eventually you leave massive acreage behind your fullbacks for a top-tier opponent to exploit.
I think you're underestimating the paralyzing effect that offensive firepower has on an opponent.
Paralyzing.
Yeah. When Norway proves they can score from anywhere, opposing fullbacks start pushing forward. The opposing midfield pivot drops 5 yards deeper out of sheer self-preservation. Norway's momentum inherently forces other teams to abandon their own tactical identities.
All right, let's test that by looking at the wild cards of this tournament. You know, the overachievers and the desperately underperforming squads.
Let's do it.
Starting with the overachievers, the exact narrative tension surrounding Norway right now is whether they can maintain this high-powered attacking form when they face a defense that is actually organized enough to survive the initial wave.
Right.
They are essentially a glass cannon. They play a phenomenally high-risk vertical game. What happens when they face an opponent who sets traps in those wide channels, absorbs the pressure, and hits them in that empty transition space? Do they shatter?
That is the ultimate test for a rising dark horse. And contrast Norway's situation with Austria. If Norway is daring you to stop their attack, Austria is daring you to break down their synchronization, like a brick wall.
Exactly.
The question for Austria is whether their momentum and teamwork are genuinely enough to challenge a giant like Argentina for first place in Group J. Teamwork is beautiful, sure, but when you are facing a squad that doesn't need a systemic breakdown to score, a squad that just needs one player to beat his man. Does the collective system hold up?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And while the overachievers are mapping their road to the knockouts, the teams that lost are just staring into the abyss right now.
Oh, the pressure is immense.
Look at Senegal's tactical setup. They have an immense amount of physical talent, but they completely struggled to contain France's midfield rotation.
Yeah, they looked a bit lost centrally.
They have to figure out how to utilize their incredible athleticism to actively disrupt passing lanes rather than just reactively chasing the ball. They need to use their physical presence to cut off the supply line to the pivot, forcing the play to the touch lines where they can actually trap it.
And the emotional pressure facing Senegal, Iraq, Jordan, and Algeria right now is crushing. They are fighting to avoid falling permanently behind in the standings. It's like this existential tournament dread.
Dread is the right word.
You lose your first game, and suddenly the narrative shifts violently from, we're ready to show the world what we can do, to we are fighting for our survival. Every single pass in the second game carries the weight of potential elimination.
So between the two of us, looking at these wild cards, which team outside the traditional favorites has the best chance to exceed expectations going forward?
I have a feeling we're going to disagree here.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm firmly leaning towards Austria's tactical discipline over Norway's explosive offense. A perfectly drilled mid-block, travels well. Defensive tactics hold up when the legs get heavy in the 75th minute.
See, I disagree. The history of this tournament favors the fearless.
You really believe that?
I do. Norway's offensive firepower is the ultimate equalizer. When you can score 4 goals in a variety of ways, you are never truly out of a game, no matter how much possession the opponent controls. They have the narrative momentum to completely derail a traditional favorite.
Well, all this theory gets put to the ultimate test on June 22. Match day 2 is where the tactical frameworks either calcify or just completely shatter. Let's break down these upcoming fixtures based on the data in your sources and predict how these clashing styles will actually play out.
Let's start with Group I, France versus Iraq. This is a fascinating psychological collision. Pure confidence versus absolute desperation. France enters, having calmly dismantled a strong opponent, feeling entirely secure in their championship identity. Meanwhile, Iraq desperately needs points just to stay mathematically relevant in the tournament.
And tactically, it's a terrifying mismatch. I mean, France's attacking depth and technical superiority are built to destroy the exact type of low block Iraq will be forced to deploy.
Iraq's going to park the bus.
They have to. Iraq will likely drop into a rigid 5-4-1, hoping to remain perfectly organized and capitalize on maybe a fleeting counterattack. But France excels at overloading one side of the pitch, drawing the defensive block over, and then rapidly switching play to isolate a winger one-on-one on the far side.
Iraq will be stretched until they snap.
Exactly. Looking at the disparity in these scouting reports, a comfortable 4-0 victory for France just seems inevitable.
I agree. France's depth allows them to relentlessly apply pressure for 90 minutes. I mean, Iraq will likely hold out for the first 30 minutes purely on adrenaline and desperation. But once that first goal goes in, the floodgates will open.
Yeah.
This will strengthen France's hold on Group I and really reinforce their aura as the team to beat.
Okay, the other Group I match is the tactical clash of the round, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Norway versus Senegal. You have Norway's offensive confidence, riding high on those intricate half-space overloads, running straight into Senegal's sheer athleticism and their desperate determination to respond after a pretty bruising tactical defeat to France.
The narrative stakes here are immense. This match could easily decide second place, or if Norway wins, they position themselves to challenge France for the top spot. It's the classic storyline of the rising underdog versus the wounded animal.
Wounded animal is perfect.
Senegal has the physical tools, but they have to recover mentally from feeling like passengers in their opening match.
Tactically, Senegal has to disrupt Norway's midfield flow immediately. If they allow Norway's fullbacks to overlap and establish those 3v2 situations on the wings, Norway will absolutely dictate the game.
So what's the fix?
Senegal must turn this into a chaotic, scrappy fight in the center of the pitch. They need to counter-press aggressively and deny Norway the time to build their geometric passing shapes.
Right.
But honestly, despite Senegal's physical advantages, Norway's synchronized movement is so sharp right now. I think Norway edges this in a 2-1 victory in what should be an incredibly open, hard-fought contest.
I'm with you on 2-1. Norway's unshakable belief that they belong on this stage will be the decisive factor, I think. Senegal is still trying to remember their identity under pressure, while Norway is actively writing theirs.
Which brings us to the headline match. The absolute marquee matchup of Groups I and J Argentina versus Austria.
Oh, this is the dream scenario for anyone who loves the drama of tournament football. Both teams won convincingly. You have Argentina carrying the crushing weight of football history, possessing world-class talent that can break a game open in a single breath. And then you have Austria, devoid of global superstars, but operating with incredible meticulous teamwork and a hive-mind defensive discipline.
Right. This is the ultimate system versus superstars debate. Can a perfectly executed system, like Austria's compact lines, their synchronized pressing triggers, their ability to completely negate central space, actually neutralize a team of Argentine superstars who literally only need one moment of individual brilliance to shatter a tactical mold?
It's such a clash of styles.
Austria wants to make the game boring. They want to force Argentina's attackers to drop into their own half just to get a touch on the ball.
But genius operates outside of systemic constraints, you know.
Does it always, though?
I mean, if Austria can frustrate Argentina, if they can hold that perfect defensive shape and keep it 0-0 for 60 minutes, the psychological pressure in Argentina will grow exponentially. The crowd gets anxious, the passes get forced, the shape elongates.
That's what Austria is banking on.
Exactly. But Argentina's rotational fluidity is designed to pull rigid markers out of position. Someone will make a blindside run, someone will deliver a perfectly weighted through ball, and the system will crack. I say Argentina earns a narrow 2-1 victory in a remarkably high-quality chess match.
I think you're right. Austria will force Argentina to suffer for it, absolutely. But Argentina's technical quality seizes the key moments when the margins are razor thin. Now looking at the final match of the day. Jordan versus Algeria.
This is purely about emotional and tournament survival. Both teams desperately need a result after opening defeats.
Yep.
Jordan is going to rely on raw energy and determination, really trying to force mistakes. But Algeria has to drastically improve their defensive transition while simultaneously engineering a way to create high-quality scoring opportunities, which they completely failed to do against Argentina.
Tactically, it's a question of who blinks first. Jordan couldn't close down the pockets of space against Austria's combinations, and Algeria just got steamrolled by Argentina's possession and rest defense.
Right.
Which side is more likely to recover mentally, adjust their shape, and actually execute a coherent tactical plan when the panic inevitably sets in?
I think Algeria must rely on its veteran experience here.
Yeah.
When you are drowning in desperation and the game becomes chaotic, experience is the only life raft that keeps a team from completely falling apart. Algeria narrowly keeps its tournament hopes alive with a gritty, unglamorous 2-1 win.
I can see that. Okay, so we've analyzed your scouting reports, we've mapped the tactics, we've weighed the narrative pressure. Let's do some rapid-fire, bold predictions based on everything in these Matchday 1 sources.
Ooh, I love bold predictions.
I'll lay down the first marker. France will finish first in Group I without losing a single match. Their structural control is simply too absolute for anyone in that group to break down.
I'll take that a step further. Norway won't just participate in this tournament and enjoy a nice group stage. They will qualify for the knockout stage and surprise a massive amount of fans who completely wrote them off a week ago.
Bold. Over in Group J, Argentina will continue to look every bit the championship favorite. That rest defense and structural solidity will carry them deep into the latter stages of the tournament.
But, and this is my big one, Austria is going to push Argentina all the way to the wire in the battle for first place. That match and the subsequent goal difference race will be vastly closer than the global media expects.
I like that one. And here's the most volatile prediction of all. Before the group stage ends, one of today's underdogs, Senegal, Iraq, Jordan, or Algeria, is going to produce a massive, memorable upset that completely shatters a group's standings.
Wow. Consider which of those bold predictions is most likely to unravel entirely. Because if there is one universal truth embedded in these scouting reports, it's that football at this level is inherently chaotic.
So true. The opening round really showcased attacking brilliance, tactical discipline, and the emergence of new contenders. But the real test begins now. Can France and Argentina keep rolling? Will Norway and Austria continue their impressive starts? Or will Senegal, Iraq, Jordan, and Algeria rewrite the narrative? On June 22, every pass, every save, and every goal could shape the path to the knockout stage and create the next unforgettable World Cup story.
We've mapped out the tactics and we've analyzed the psychological pressures from your sources. But, there's one variable we haven't touched yet.
What's that?
The sheer physical toll of the modern tournament structure. We've praised Norway's high-octane pressing and Austria's relentless defensive synchronization. But in a compressed group stage, fatigue makes cowards of us all.
That's profound.
When the lactic acid builds up in the 75th minute of match day 3, does the tactically brilliant high-effort system collapse under its own physical demands, leaving the slow, methodical giants like France to simply sweep up the pieces? Keep your eyes on the heavy legs, not just the heavyweights.
Gravity might be glitching right now, but eventually, the physics of fatigue always pull you back down to earth. We'll be back to analyze the fallout after match day 2.